Hey, let's pull up a chair. Let's talk for a minute. I've been in EMS for 33 years, going on 34, and people ask me all the time, how do you stay in this job? How is it that you stayed in this job so long without burning out, losing your mind? And honestly, it's kind of a tough question, but it's not because I'm tougher than anyone else. And truthfully, this job has broken me quite a few times, physically and mentally. So I've thought about that question. And I thought, I'm going to share that with you guys. And in my experience, there really is two big reasons people leave this job. Most people say it's burnout, but burnout really is it's just the end product, and it usually comes from one or two things. At least this is my 2 cents anyway. One is finances, and number two is mental health. And finances, and we talk about that first. We're like, MS doesn't pay great. We know that. It's just the reality. Now, you can do some different things. Like you can go to work in a big city, like I did for over 25 years on a high volume service, making 100,000 plus runs a year, and you can make more money. And but the problem, it comes with a big price. It wasn't uncommon for us to do 12, 16 calls in a 12-hour shift. um, that's a lot. You might have two or three cardiac arrests, you might have several intubations, you might have several critical patients, you might have just nothing really of any sorts whatsoever. So, what do a lot of people do? They work two jobs. Or one of my personal favorite is, at least in the high volume services, because you're making more money, is use overtime as their second job. And there's no judgment really, because I did it for years. I knew exactly, and those of you here are doing it too. You know exactly how many hours of overtime you can work before the taxes start crushing everything. They take most of your check. And I've been around EMS long enough, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those of you who are doing it too. But if I could give you one piece of advice to someone earlier in their career, because you start off. I started off when I was 18 years old doing this job, and I love doing it. But I didn't have any guidance. And the guidance I'm going to give you today is live way below your means. You don't need that $60,000 truck. Trust me. I promise you don't need it. And then you can work overtime if you want to, but use it to get ahead, not to survive. I had a work partner who did that, and he made a very, very good living, and took care of a lot of stuff for him and his future family. And the second reason people leave, and honestly, I think this is probably the root, and I've heard a lot of people talk about this one, uh, the Sophie Fullers and EMS Avenger, and a lot of like the Shade Tree guy, cardiology dude, talking about mental health, and it's a big, big deal. And I think finally we're to a place where it's a good place to talk about it. Because when I started EMS in 1992, the mentality was basically this: you can't handle it, there's a door, bro. Get out. Because if you can't handle this, you're done. So what did most of us do that stuck around? Well, you kept it to yourselves. And I say most of us who kept it, stuck around. Um, Granted, 33 years, but I think there was maybe up until about, I think it was 15 years in, I guess. And I was the last one out of my EMT class that was still working EMS, or fire or police or whatever, doing those whole things. It's just what it was. But you learn to keep it to yourself. At least that's what I did. And for years, I thought things were. I was totally fine. I mean, we had the runs that I knew that you've all got the run, right? You've all got the runs that that's kind of bothering you, and the ones that are going to stick with you. The smells and the little 3 or 4 year old that's looks up at you and says, you're a rescue 911, right? And knowing their parents they're not going to make it, or they haven't already made it, right? So you know those calls, and we all have those. But looking back, those calls, man, they were running my life more than I realized. And as I've gotten older, that box, Pandora's box, started opening up, and I started thinking things were wrong with me. I was like, what is wrong with me? And I met this guy named Eddie V, and I'm going to get to the point here, but he was a Clifton Strengths coach. He had his own system, and through that process of learning a lot of things, I learned something really, really important that I think each of you need to hear today. Is there's nothing wrong with you. You are exactly the way where you have to be, and that's, I have certain strengths that shape how I deal with the world, right? For example, some people will do anything to protect a relationship, and that's totally cool. But people like me, I'm willing to risk a relationship to tell you the honest truth. Ask my current boss. We have conversations all the time, and you know what? Both are okay, perfectly okay. And this is where I think we missed the mark with mental health and first responders. And again, this is my 2 cents, is there isn't one right way to process what you see in this job. There's only your way. But the key really is this: you have to process it. Not 5 years from now, not 10 years from now, not next month. Because if you don't, you will process it later in life, and by then, some damage has already been done. So I guess really, if I had to boil it down to 30 plus years in EMS and fire, into 2 pieces of advice, and I'm going to keep it super simple. Finances: don't be dumb with your money. Just don't be dumb. And if you don't know how to manage your money, seek the help. There are tons of books out there. There's tons of resources, local churches. There's stuff online that you can get, and there's just tons of resources out there. And if you want some of the books I've used over the years, let me know, and I'd be happy to share you with the books that I've used on that. And so finances: don't be dumb with your money. Mental health: process what you see, but process it now, because if you don't, you're going to carry it for decades, and that's just not cool. You don't need to live in that space. And just, again, I love seeing all of the stuff out there right now. I think there was a mental health summit in North Carolina. I see a lot of guys, EMS Avenger and all, Sophie and all them. Everybody's doing stuff with that, and I just love it, because it's kind of normalizing it, which is a really good thing. My 2 cents anyway. I think that those are the 2 biggest things that we could do to help and take care of each other. So anyway, talk to you later, and I'll see you on the next side. Bye.